Wow. Saquon Barkley looked absolutely electric last night. I mean, it was to be expected that he was going to have a better year with the Eagles, given they have a better quarterback, offensive line, and playmakers. But over 130 all purpose yards and 3 touchdowns in his debut with the Eagles. Sheesh. We're going to break down some of his plays. We're going to break down the snap percentages, as well as what Saquon Barkley and Kenny Gainwell's target shares look like out of the Eagles' backfield, and what we might be able to expect from Saquon Barkley for the rest of the season. Looking at Saquon's profile, he was the best running back prospect we had seen for some time. I do consider him a better prospect than Bijan Robinson was coming out, and Bijan Robinson was also an elite prospect. I mean, Saquon Barkley is 6 foot, 233 pounds. That gives him a 31.6 BMI. That is very, very good. 30.0 or greater in terms of BMI is generally what you would prefer to be a bell cow back. So obviously he's been used as one throughout his career, but he is absolutely built to be one. I mean, he was the highest drafted running back we had seen in some time, picked second overall. When we look at his age, he's 27 years old, a little bit north, right around 27 and a half. Given the historical peak production ages for running backs, 28 years old is generally the last season you're going to have a peak production year. So he definitely is within the historical age range to have a big, big year. And if week 1 is any indication of what we can expect, oh, goodness. I mean, when you look at his metrics, his 4.40 40-yard dash is in the 96th percentile in and of itself. But given that he's 6 foot, 233 pounds with a 31.6 BMI, that gives him a 124.3 speed score, which is in the 99th percentile. And his vertical and broad jump was impressive as all get out. I mean, his 134.7 burst score is in the 97th percentile. And it's not as if he's weak or anything. His 29 bench reps are 96th percentile. All around, this guy on film was a crazy athlete, one of the most talented running backs we've seen coming out of college when he was with Penn State. And the draft capital backed that up. Unfortunately for him, while he did have, yes, a fantastic rookie season, he was in the worst situation imaginable with the Giants. Bless his soul, he's finally with a team that can allow him to showcase his skills. When we look at his stats from last night, in a full PPR, he had 33.2 points. He basically doubled his projections. His 80% snap share was pretty good. Wasn't exactly sure what to expect. You know that given they gave him one of the largest free agent contracts for a running back we'd seen in a minute, that they were probably going to give him a good snap share and amount of carries and touches in general. His 24 carries easily led the backfield, giving him 109 total rushing yards at 4.54 per carry. Pretty solid. The Green Bay Packers, for the most part, with the exception of a long gain of about 34 yards, and obviously he did score twice, generally contained him reasonably well considering it's the Eagles. And it was nice to see that even if his target share wasn't the best, he had 2 total targets, he made the most of it with his 23 yards and a touchdown. But let's see what's on film. Looking at this first play, Saquon Barkley's running a wheel route. So they put John Dotson in motion coming from the left to the right to get the defense distracted going that way. And he runs a cross wheel route. He starts off on the right side of Jalen Hurts, makes his way. Isaiah McDuffie is forced to cover him, the Green Bay Packers linebacker. I'm sorry, but Isaiah McDuffie is no match for Saquon Barkley. It's very nice to see that they're being creative, and I will say, Jalen Hurts, that was going to be his first read, you can tell. Now, first of all, once again, they used the motion of John Dotson going from left to right to get the Packers distracted and looking to the other side of the field. And then Jalen Hurts made a little bit of a motion to the right to get the defense coming back to him before throwing across to the other side of the field to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is, once again, going to be too much for Isaiah McDuffie, their linebacker. And it's very, very nice that not only was he able to corral the ball in, but he was able to get 2 feet down. That is a very impressive catch for a running back. Just wow. On this next play, Saquon Barkley is in shotgun to the left of Jalen Hurts. The play is intended to have him go between the center and the right guard. He sees Quay Walker step up, and so he hits him with a nasty jump cut to the right and shows him incredible burst to be able to get through the rest of the Packers defense, essentially untouched. I don't really know what more there is to say, but this is probably going to be a thing we see all throughout the season. Once again, the Packers defense definitely isn't the worst defense in the NFL against the run, but they were no match for Saquon Barkley last night. Very impressive play, and it's nice to see some good juice from Saquon Barkley in terms of his burst and his lateral agility. On Saquon Barkley's third touchdown of the night, he's in shotgun to the right of Jalen Hurts. He makes a nice jump cut to the right and then displays some nice power to get through the teeth of the Packers defense and into the end zone. This offense is going to be very tough to stop. One thing to mention here is we didn't really see quite as much of the tush push, and around the goal line, they were giving Saquon Barkley the ball and trying to get him in the end zone. That was one concern I had, is that we might not know what to expect in terms of around the goal line. And now this is one game. There's probably going to be quite a few Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns, but it is very, very nice if you're a Saquon Barkley owner to see that around the goal line, they're not just doing the tush push every time anymore. They are trying to get Saquon Barkley the ball, and he looked really good last night. In this final play, he is in shotgun to the right of Jalen Hurts. Goddard goes in motion. He sees that Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and Stokes are able to get some penetration, so he makes a jump cut to the left and shows off once again some more incredible burst, as well as really, really nice speed in the open field. It's a shame he didn't have a little bit better of an angle here, but he did beat the safety that was coming down, and he was almost gone. I think we're going to see quite a few 100-plus yard rushing games and maybe another 150 or 200 game here and there. This is going to be an incredible offense from game to game. It's going to be really hard for defenses to stop. And Saquon Barkley is finally going to show us, once again, after his rookie season, why we were all so excited to see him in the NFL. Looking at the Eagles' rushing performance last night, Saquon Barkley once again was easily the top running back. It's kind of funny that Jalen Hurts is still the second running back in this offense, and Kenny Gainwell is the third running back. So Saquon Barkley's 24 carries were almost twice as much as any other running back, and I use Jalen Hurts as a running back in this scenario. It was interesting to see that Jalen Hurts' average yards per carry was relatively low. I would have expected him to have a little bit better of a rushing performance, but this video is about Saquon Barkley. He showed a lot of burst tonight, very good vision, some top shelf speed, even though he wasn't able to really break, one of his classic 60 to 70 yard touchdowns on the ground. Nonetheless, he was relatively efficient when the blocking was there. He did slip up and lose 5 yards on his first carry, but that's going to happen from time to time and definitely, obviously, isn't any kind of concern. He had 3 touchdowns, over 130 all-purpose yards. When we look at his snap share compared to the second actual running back, Kenny Gainwell, he outsnapped him 80 to 20%. I think that is going to be a common theme here because even if the Eagles are losing games, Saquon Barkley is a much more than adequate receiving back. I don't think he's really going to face a negative game script in the sense of something that prevents him from being on the field, if you know what I mean. And when we look at his target share, his 5.88% was double Kenny Gainwell's 2.94%. So that is very good to see because Kenny Gainwell in his own right is a very, very good receiving back. And when we look once again at his fantasy finish, in a full PPR, his 30.2 points is probably going to end up being the RB1 this week. I mean, we still have McCaffrey, Bijan, and Brees, and others left to play, A-Chain as well. But if this is any indication of what we can expect to see this season, there is a very good shot that he ends up being the RB1. Eagles fans, you have to be excited, as well as fantasy owners of Saquon Barkley. I did get him at the end of the first round in a redraft league this season. I don't have any shares in Dynasty. I did sell off one of my only shares of him a couple years ago because I was concerned about his career with the Giants, and I didn't know if he was ever going to get out. Now I may end up regretting that trade because, sheesh, if this is any indication of what we can expect to see from him, he has a very, very good shot at being the RB1. He looked absolutely explosive, and it's very good to see that he was getting 80% of the snap share out of this backfield. They paid him enough, so it's very good to see that they're going to make use of him this season. Hopefully for his sake, he ends up playing the 3 years of his contract out, but even if he's only there for this season and next season, he's going to give us some elite fantasy production. All right, so those are my thoughts on Saquon Barkley's debut performance with the Eagles. I thought he showed a lot of good burst, vision, and versatility in this offense. This offense is likely to be very explosive from week to week, and I was once again thoroughly impressed by Saquon Barkley. But what do you think? Did you like what you saw from him tonight? Do you think that this is a little bit better of a week than we're going to see from him most weeks, or do you think that this is a sign of things to come? Let me know below in the comment section. Feel free to check out my rankings videos for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Make sure your lineups are set, no injured players are in there. One update, T. Higgins is likely not to play this week, so I would expect Jamar Chase to have even more targets this week, and there's a decent chance that Andre Iosivas is going to be incorporated a little bit more this week. He seems, in my opinion, to be the T. Higgins replacement this next season, assuming they don't draft somebody. And Burton has reportedly been having even more character concerns and is appearing to be a little bit cancerous in the locker room, according to reports. That's allegedly. So just make sure that you don't have T. Higgins in there, assuming he doesn't end up playing. And once again, please like and subscribe. It lets me know that you want to see more videos like these in the future. And make sure you have a fantastic weekend. Football is back.